tonight is a special one because Michelle and I are doing this together.
Hi.
Hi.
And a couple things. So we're on the Zoom platform and we are recording this because we've had some requests from people who would to watch it later, hear it later. So it is being recorded, and there is a chat feature. So down at the bottom of your screen, you can at any time hit chat and throw a question our way or anything our way that you would want to, actually. So you can do that. And there's a way to, we'll be the ones that'll see it, so it won't go out to the universe. And then if you could all mute yourselves, I can do that because I have super big time controls, but if you would mute yourself, then you can also unmute yourself if you have a question. Otherwise, if I do it, then you'll have to wave at me in order to get our attention. So let's see. So that's the details on Zoom. And we're just going to keep going and let people join in as they want to. We are planning on being here from 5:30 to 6:30. And I'd like to invite everybody to start with a little bit of grounding. These times that we're in are especially tender, and it's good for us to stay in the present. So even now, whatever you brought to today and to this moment, just want to take a couple moments and ask you guys to join both of us in a little bit of grounding. So if you're willing, close your eyes and take a couple real nice, slow breaths in your nose and out your mouth. I want to invite you to picture the most beautiful flower that you can. So be it a rose, a dandelion, whatever you would want to imagine. And I want to ask you to take 2 really deep and full smells of that flower. And wherever you are, and whatever flower you were imagining, maybe that short pause and smelling of the beautiful scent of your favorite flower can help ground you for this hour that we all get to be together as a community. And when you're ready, you can slowly bat your eyes open and come back to our little virtual gathering. I intend to bounce back and forth between some screen sharing and some of our face. So if someone could just verbally,
Even a thumbs up.
yeah, tell me that you're seeing our screen.
It should say Doorways.
Perfect. Perfect. So Doorways is continuing to see clients. We are all virtual, and we're doing that through Zoom like this, we're doing it through Doxy, and we're doing it through phone calls. So if you or someone you know would like to get services in this time, we are still 100% ready to be present with you and your kids and your family. And the best way to set up an appointment or contact us is through that phone number right there. And you are welcome to do that. We would love to, if we're not currently meeting with you or your kids or your family, we would love to have that opportunity.
So then I wanted to take a minute just to introduce Jason and I. So we've been married 25, almost 26 years. This is a slide of our family. We went out to the grocery store today. That's what that picture is. We have 3 kids. Nora is 18, Benjamin is 22, he's in the middle, and then Winston's on the end and he's 20. We have the dog on the upper slide, her name's Lulu, and then tomorrow we're bringing home a puppy. So we have been working with youth since 1994. Is when we got married, but we were volunteering with youth ministry before then. We love to sit with families and be with teens and kids. I'm a teacher by trade. We both are interns at Fuller. I have 1 class left, and Jason has just a couple more than I do, but we both graduate in June. So we're both working under supervision, and the program has been amazing. We've learned a ton. So just because we're new to the therapy world, we have a lot of experience working with teens and kids. I'm a high school teacher and I'm moving into the social work position right now. So we just really wanted to take this time to just acknowledge how challenging this season is. We've never experienced anything like this before, just being in a pandemic. And in some sense, I know some people are trapped at home, but then other people, their kids are the ones trapped at home and they're having to go to work, but their kids aren't allowed to go out. So I just feel like whatever situation you're in, just be excessively kind to yourself. And it's normal to lose temper. It's normal to be afraid. It's normal to have highs and lows and feel confused. And I mean, I've had moments where I've just paused and been like, this isn't quite so bad. I kind of like the slowness of this pace right now. And then I feel bad. I feel that way. So I think just being excessively kind to yourself as we process through this, what it looks like. I wanted to show you a picture because I know you all have kids different ages, and I wanted to show you a picture of our kids, which I imagine a lot of your kids might be more close to this age, between like middle school or high school. So there's my 3 on a first day of school. My middle child hates school, you can tell. So I've spent more time on the internet than I normally do, and the favorite meme that I've seen that's come through right now is this one. I don't know how many of you have seen this, but it says feeling like a bad parent. I don't even know how to say this animal's name. They toss their babies at predators so they can escape. So whenever you're feeling down, none of us are quite at that point, even if you feel like it. So yeah, be kind to yourself.
One of the things that we're seeing with the individuals and groups that we're meeting with right now is there's a lot of grieving going on for our kids.
I'm here for you.
Be it seniors right now who are losing out on some really significant things they were looking forward to, or grieving loss of normal life or friendships or being in a sport, whatever it is, there's a lot of grieving going on. So in addition to some anxiety and some claustrophobia and some anger, there's also some real grieving going on. And grief is super interesting because it comes at you in the most surprising of ways, the most surprising times. And again, to be aware and to acknowledge, like, whoa, there could be some grieving going on when maybe your kids are throwing something strong at you emotionally. So that's another good thing to keep in mind.
And remember, grief has all those stages, and one of them is anger. So just keep that in mind. So one of the things that I wanted to encourage you about is I have experienced a lot of comparison in parenting. This is a quote that has kind of anchored me. I adapted it from a book called The Family by Balswick and Balswick. So I reworded it a little bit just because it was a long quote, but it says, parents should parent without shame, fear, or guilt by reclaiming their personhood. This means viewing parenthood as a spiritual practice and not as a calling. Parents should be judged less on how their children turn out than on how the spiritual practice of parenting is exemplified by the virtues of love, mercy, humility, peace, justice, and compassion. Rethinking the spirituality of parenting goes a long way in combating the cult of the perfect parent. I feel like, especially in this season, we have to let go of that idea that we're going to do it perfectly. I tend to be somebody that likes to drive myself, and I want to do it perfectly and right every time. Mm-hmm. And I have a hard time forgiving myself when I don't. The thing that I love about this is that parenting is a practice and a discipline that the more you practice at it, the more comfortable it becomes. And I liked the virtues that it highlighted, like pausing throughout the day and thinking, am I being loving towards my family, merciful? Do I have humility? Am I peaceful? Where am I helping find justice, and where can I find compassion? The humility piece can be especially hard. So since COVID-19, I've been a little obsessed with looking at the Worldometer. I don't know if any of you have seen that website, but it just gives data and tells you how many people are dying around the world. And I can't stop looking at it. And my middle son just totally called me out. He's like, Mom, you have to stop that. That is so bad for you. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I thought, you know what? He's right. And so I had to, in humility, discipline myself to only look at it 3 times a day instead.
It was like every hour for a while.
It was just driving. It was driving me, much like his video games drive him. So I have to have that humility to step in there and then be okay with myself that I didn't do that perfectly. You know, I was modeling to him my obsession on my phone, which we see from our kids all the time.
Yeah.
But I just love also the end of this quote. This is the quote, the cult of a perfect parent. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. And the whole idea about parenting being a spiritual practice, whatever your faith is, or however you connect with the divine, or even if you don't believe that, like hearing who you are and then parenting out of that personhood and grounding yourself so you have something to give out. Can you guys see us too, or can you only see the slides? You can see me? All right, thanks. I've never done this before. It's all new. I've just listened to Brene Brown, and she's all about the first time, profanity first time. So I feel like I'm learning.
I want to just say, in case anybody didn't hear it at the beginning, if you want to send a question, then send that in the chat because we'll get those. And if there's something specific that you're coming tonight hoping for in terms of being hunkered down with your family right now or something else, then just throw that out. You can throw anything at us in those chat things. I like this quote too because it reminds us that there's another thought that you could easily Google, which is called good enough parenting. So this idea of perfection as opposed to good enough parenting, and the good enough parent stays present. And in these times, I think that's what Michelle was saying right at the beginning, is the good enough parent stays present, and that is enough. And still room for growth, but you're present in the right here, right now. Are we going next slide, or are we showing that?
I think next clip. I don't remember. I don't remember what the next slide is.
Next slide. You want me to show the little video?
So show the video.
Okay.
So we're going to show you a clip from Kung Fu Panda, which is one of my spiritual teachers, is Master Oogway. But I think that this scene has stayed with me since I've seen this movie. And I actually turned it into my phone case. So just take a minute to listen to this 2 minutes. I say turn it all the way up because remember he said you couldn't hear it.
Big fan.
I see you have found a sacred peach tree of heavenly wisdom.
Oh, is that what this is? I am so sorry. I thought it was just a regular peach tree.
I understand. You eat when you are upset.
Upset? I'm not upset. Why what makes you think I'm upset?
So why are you upset?
I probably sucked more today than anyone in the history of Kung Fu, in the history of China, in the history of sucking.
Probably.
And the 5, man, you should have seen them. They totally hate me.
Totally.
How's Shifu ever going to turn me into the Dragon Warrior? I mean, I'm not like the 5. I've got no claws, no wings, no venom. Even Mantis has those thingies. Maybe I should just quit and go back to making noodles.
Quit. Don't quit. Noodles. Don't noodles. You are too concerned with what was and what will be. There's a saying. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
So in my life, I really fight to stay present because I go to the past. I screwed that up. I shouldn't have been on my phone that much. I shouldn't have said that to my kid. I shoulda. Or then I go into the future. Oh, next time I'm going to do it different. And then I miss the moment here and now. And that's actually something that I really appreciate about Jason is he's really good at staying present. So I actually took this image and turned it into my phone case. I love it. I love the comment about yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift, and then the play on words, and that's why we call it the present. And if you can fight to be in the present moment, to be sad when you're sad, to be happy when you're happy, to acknowledge the wind, the grass, whatever it is, just fight to be present. And it's not about putting your worries, stuffing them away. It's about, I really believe if you're worried about not being able to pay your bills, then carve out 30 minutes and think, okay, for 30 minutes, I'm going to worry and problem solve about how I'm going to pay my bills. And then that's done. That was the intention for that present moment. But your kids, I think especially little kids, are so good at being present that we can learn from them. So it's obviously something I feel pretty passionate about learning to be present, because this moment is the gift that we have.
Can I do something we weren't planning to do?
It depends on it. Are you going to humiliate me?
No, I would never do that. What's your one word response to watching that video?
They're all muted.
They can unmute themselves.
That's me.
Say that again.
That's how I feel.
That's how I feel.
Encouraging.
Encouraging.
Peace.
Peace.
Reflecting.
Just the right words.
True.
True.
Deep.
Deep.
Simple.
Simple.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm going to be the naysayer in the group just for a second. If we're being totally honest, my one word would be cliche.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's something that I've had to fight, because even I think things that are even cliche, it doesn't mean that they're not true.
Right.
But it does, and it can really minimize the reality of, in my own personal journey, I really struggle being anxious and being a worrier. And for whatever reason, this has been a key for me. Poe, he's all in the classroom. I love him. but I think there's something even about the cliche and the simplicity that just resonated with me. And I just would encourage you just even sit with that. Like, it's totally like, well, that seems cliche, and it totally is.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate your honesty too.
I was thinking in the moment of watching that, how I can go to comparison. And I was trying to think just in those couple moments, like, when has comparison worked out good for me, especially in regards to parenting? And I'm not sure yet. I don't have an answer of when it's actually worked out good, but comparison can be that silent killer where we're, posed like, hey, the 5 have all these skills, and we can say, hey, that family has this, that their kid has this, mine doesn't. They get to do this. They go here on vacation. They spend this much here.
Or they're homeschooling on these hours every day, and their kids are taking a bath every day. And I saw on Instagram, their family is doing an activity all the time.
Right. So there's some good stuff in there. I think movies are great. And that's actually one of we're going to go through some kind of creative ideas to help in this time of being together a lot. And movies didn't make the list, but I think movies should have made the list. And watching things like The Way Back and talking about it as a family. Watching, I saw a thumbs up from you, Jesse, watching Dan in Real Life and what stirs in you. There's space for us to say to our kids, hey, what would you want to watch? And let's watch more than only being entertained. Let's watch to dialogue. What character are you relating to and why? And what scene made you think? What scene stirred emotion? So movies is not going to be on the list, but it's now on the list.
I watched the movie 8th Grade with 2 of my kids, and it was really an enlightening experience, mostly because I only had 2 of them at home at the time, but they almost couldn't watch it because of how uncomfortable it made them, because of how raw and real it was to them, since they had just lived through that in middle school. And they felt like that movie did the best job at showing what social media has done to them, because my kids are of the generation where my son entered high school where the social media was just starting to take off. So that would be one I would recommend too. It's rated R though, so make sure you Google or preview whatever guidelines you have for yourself and your family about that.
Ready to keep going? So, some creative ideas for these times. Okay, the idea of a schedule. The idea, whether you have 1 or 7 children at home, the idea of a schedule that you would come up with together is something that I'm finding with some of the kiddos I'm meeting with right now is actually really beneficial for their anxiety to know, there is something, as much as the majority of them fight against the school schedule, there's something about the routine that's beneficial. So to come up with a schedule for them of what each day would look like, and to include in that schedule some time for laughter, to intentionally include in there some outside time, to include the flexibility to change it from Tuesday to Wednesday if you need be, and some feedback, some hearing back from them on, hey, how did it go? Some of us as parents are home with our kids, and some of you are still carrying out those essential services. And so there's a mix of all that. And the schedule can fit wherever you are with parenting.
I do think, speaking into that a little bit, it's really important, especially with middle school and high school, that you let them even make the schedule. And I think Jason goes like this a lot, and that's how it is with teens. It's that give and take, push and pull.
It's like this.
And my daughter has come back to say often, I didn't want to do that, but I knew it was good for me, and I'm glad you made me do that. But it's so maddening as a parent. Like, it just feels like, ugh. And so really figuring out what is it that's most important to you, and that's what you need to fight for. The other thing, I was leaving the house the other day and I was talking to a coworker. I was like, do you think I'm ever going to be done making lists for my kids? Because my daughter, when I told her we were going to do this,
I got it.
I asked her what a couple ideas were, and she said, I think lists are great, Mom. So she prefers me to list out what I want her to do for the day, pick up the dog poop, I don't know, what else I can do.
Sweep the pool,
dishwasher. It just gives her more of an element of control too, because I'll say these have to be done by, I don't know, 4:00, and you can do them on your own time. Of course, then by 3:55, nothing's been done, and I'm like, so I think those are a couple important things to remember with schedule. Even if they say they don't want it, they mostly do. But I also think the flexibility is really important. And I'm reiterating what you're saying.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's good. It's good. Oh, okay. I have to go here.
No, you did it.
Whoops. Second creative idea is a word of the week. And this is kind of a fun thing you could come up with as a family. I could see you doing this multiple ways. I could see you writing them all down on a piece of paper, putting them in some kind of a bowl or a hat or something, and draw one out. A word like patience, a word like creativity or art, or maybe even you guys have more words of the week you could throw out there and we could share them. But word of the week is kind of a fun thing, like, hey, let's focus on something as a family. And then meal prep. I like this one. Meal prep is something that we've done a lot. We like food here in our family. I think everybody likes food. And we decided, so we have the 3 kids all back at home right now, and we decided everybody was going to own one dinner. And they get to come up with what it is. So if they want to just pull something out of the freezer, or if they want to plan ahead for something really fun, if they want to include a dessert, or if they don't. But when you have teenage kids and you could trust them with the meal prep, meal planning, in these times, figuring out how to do the shopping, would actually be a really good conversation to have with them. Like, hey, are we going to mask up? Are we going to order it online? Are we just going to deal with what we have at home? So meal prep is another fun, creative idea.
I think too, with meal prep, do whatever they're capable of. Like my middle son, he can cook and delegate and do the whole thing, where my oldest son is like, Mom, how do I dump these beans in the can? So make sure you know what your kids are capable of. And then also meal prep can be a really good time to just connect with each other in the kitchen and do it all together. Also can cause a lot of fights if you're not careful. Not that we ever fight.
We fight quite a bit. About 47 minutes ago, there was some great tension for us. So number 4 is noticing each other. And this is actually something that I think is critical for us in these times of being, Ducey has asked us to stay at home, stay connected, stay healthy, which he includes stay outside. But this idea of noticing each other is something that we can all give as a gift. When we notice that someone else is showing something different emotionally than normal. This afternoon, our middle son walked in the door from being at his essential business and came home, and went right to his room, right to bed. And I thought, is something up? And so I went and checked on him, and he said, no, Dad, I'm good. I'm just tired. Thanks for checking on me. But the value that comes when someone notices me gives me strength, gives me energy, gives me joy. And so notice each other, notice your kids, allow them to notice you. If they notice you and ask you, hey, Mom, are you okay? Instead of deflecting that, maybe pause for a second and feel what it's like to be noticed by your kid. Noticing each other. There we go. More creative ideas for these times. Number 5, respecting space.
Yeah. So is this where we're going to talk about introverts and extroverts?
Yep.
So
I think so.
the other thing is that when my son came home today, he's our introvert, and Jason also, I knew when he went out to ask him, it was such a gift to our son that we checked on him, but then also that we left him alone. Like, we didn't push into his space. We checked on him, asked him what we felt like was appropriate. And then when we realized he didn't want to process verbally, just to leave him to debrief on his own. I think having your own space is really, really critical. Since my kids were really little, even when they wouldn't have a nap time anymore, I would have a book break. And I think even now, like 6 months ago, my daughter was home and she was driving me crazy. And I was like, you just have to go to your room. You need some downtime. So I think with everybody on top of each other in a house, it's really important that you protect whatever space that is. So whether that's on a bed, or I know there were seasons when the kids were little, it was in a closet even, or if you have a big walk-in closet, that would be a good place. Wherever you can get to be alone, and not just you, like, think about what can that space look like for your teen or child. How can they have alone time in? And when you think back to the scheduling, that might be a good thing to build in, is even, I know this is a little different than respecting space, but
you're good.
How to build in
Keep
some
going.
alone time.
Keep going.
Because they're most in our society, oftentimes we talk about being extrovert or an introvert. So an extrovert gets their energy from being with people, where an introvert gets their energy from being alone. And an introvert needs time to recover in order to be with people again, where an extrovert almost needs to process. And then when they're alone, it's like their alone time, then it's the flip. So I think it's really important to think about where your kids on that spectrum. And I see it more of on a spectrum, like you're not 100% introvert, 100% extrovert. And then the tricky piece that I've realized is oftentimes Jason, I would label as more of an extrovert, but he's an internal processor. So he oftentimes will get his energy from being with people, but he doesn't want to talk about everything right away because he needs time to process it internally. Where I would label myself more of an introvert, like I need my time alone to be by myself, but then I'm more of an external processor. Like I want to talk about and hash out what's coming or whatever I'm thinking about, but that doesn't mean that I'm an extrovert. So I think it's interesting to differentiate between an extrovert and an introvert, or an external processor versus an internal processor. So I know that's a lot of information to take in, but it's interesting to think about with your family, even within your spousal relationship, how does that play out? And then really respecting those differences. Like part of that tension today with Jason was he didn't answer a question because he was processing, and I got impatient and I was like, just answer my question, process it. And he's like internally processing, and I didn't have the patience for it.
But I do like to be in control. So sometimes I'm taking a little time to process and I like to be in control, but not today. Today I was just thinking.
Maybe.
So.
No, I believe you.
Yeah. Good. So, okay, back to here. Embrace the unknown. Raise your hand if you know when the pandemic is going to go away.
Raise your hand if you've seen Frozen 2. Into the unknown. See, look, I'm all about there. Another cliche for you. Like, let it go. I love Frozen and I love Kung Fu Panda.
Embracing the unknown is really challenging, but we don't know. We don't know how long this is going to be in terms of restrictions or this way of life. So to embrace it allows space for your kids to express their fear, their anxiety, their doubt. Maybe they think it's a conspiracy theory and you don't. Let them verbalize that. That's part of embracing the unknown, is they're getting to express what's going on in their inner world. So embracing the unknown is critical for the health of your whole family, is to just say, we don't know. It's okay. Not knowing is really something that's okay.
I feel like we've given a lot of information. Do you want to let them ask questions yet, or do your 8 points?
I'm not seeing any questions on the chat feature, either because you guys don't have the chat feature or not. I don't have to keep going with my list.
No, keep going. Do 2 more and then we can.
Okay, so media is a game saver for many of you right now. And maybe you're having to break some sacred cows that you have in your family of, we will never do that. When our kids were little, we didn't have media in bedrooms. So we didn't ever have TVs or phones or iPads or anything in bedrooms.
Little, even up through, well, until this pandemic, really.
Yeah, we weren't really fans of it at any point, but all those things have been loosened now. All those things, it's like, I mean, don't jump into pornography, or anything else unhealthy, but loosen your restrictions on media might be a good idea for right now. And then, so listening to each other is, I want to take you guys.
No, hold on.
Oh.
But the flip side of media is also, yes, loosen those restrictions, but then I also think the flip side of that is put some really hard restrictions in place. You know, like for this hour, we're going to set our phones aside. Everybody's going to turn their phones off, whatever that looks like. I would say back to the schedule, build in a media-free hour and bring in some flexibility to that. But I do think it's important because a whole day can go by and everybody has their phone in front of their face, where if you take the time then to put those aside, that can be really, really helpful. You know, we try during meals, which we don't do meals together every day. We're not great about that, but during meals, to put your phone to the side. The other thing I'm thinking that could be fun is at the end of the day, have everybody show the funniest thing they found on the internet. Like, at least you're not throwing your kids to run away from predators.
Yeah.
Because your kids can find funny stuff on the internet. I actually love teaching high school because they show me totally funny stuff, sometimes really inappropriate, but really funny. Okay.
So I want to, so in terms of number 8, listening to each other, how can I do this? Minimize.
I think you have to put, if you usually hit escape, this makes it smaller.
Okay, so this is a tool that maybe you guys are familiar with and maybe you're not. So maybe you have great experience with it, maybe you don't. It's called the 5 love languages, and it covers these kind of 5 core love languages. Don't touch the computer. I've got this.
Okay, bossy.
So you've got words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch. And this could be a fun one to do as a family because they have these free quizzes that you can take. So you go here to quizzes. Actually, no, you
click
go
on that other one that I did that you weren't happy.
So you can do it as a couple. It's here for singles, men. have a special one now if you're in the military, and they have this beautiful category down here for teens. So all you have to do is click on it, and wow, it worked so good earlier in the
It's
day.
because it
It's
was
because
on
you
that
were right?
screen. Yeah, it's this screen that I was at. So
She
my
was
daughter
right.
did it today.
She was right.
And then
she was right.
my daughter took it today. It was really fun. Actually, Jason and I and Nora took it. The boys didn't, because I didn't ask them. They weren't around. But it was really interesting to see. And it just gives you information on.
So it's things like this.
Yeah.
Which statement fits you better? I like to spend one-on-one time with people. I feel loved when someone gives practical help to me. Bam, you click that, and then the next question comes up.
I think it's 30 questions, so it's really quick.
Super, super cool. And so the idea of listening to each other, of noticing each other, it comes into play with these love languages. A perfect time for your whole family to do this and talk about, like, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if your teenager's like, my love language is receiving gifts. I need to receive gifts every single day. But whatever their love language is, whether it's gifts or not, you guys could talk about it. And you could have some fun on this page with these guys researching, how do acts of service play out? How does words of affirmation work for you? And you can come to some heightened awareness of what each other needs in these times.
The thing I like about it too, in response to us all being at home, it's just really good to remember. One of Jason's top ones is quality time. And so it means a lot to him if I will just pause and sit down on the couch and process his day for 30 minutes. Where for me, and in the hustle and bustle of all of this insanity, it's easy to forget that. And then for me, it's acts of service. And so it means so much to me that he fixed the outlet in the family room, or we have Tidy Up Tuesday at my house. The kids love Tidy Up Tuesday, but they're more prone to jump in and engage with it when they know that that's a way that they're showing me that they love, that I feel loved when they do those things. It causes me to feel loved. And I think when our kids start waking up to, you know, my daughter, she took this quiz and she only had one for physical touch. And so that's her bottom love language. And so then I know, interacting with her, even when she's upset, she does better if I say, are you okay if I hug you right now? And so to be aware of what each of those love languages are and how you can give some give and take within those 5. And then gift giving can also be things like, you can leave your child a chocolate chip cookie that you made. It doesn't have to be things that are even store-bought. It can be more that you thought of them. I would love it if anybody had any insight or anything to say about the 5 love languages, if you've experienced it, or if you found it beneficial, or if it's old hat and you're kind of sick of hearing of it, because I know it's been around for a long time. Anybody want to jump in?
This is Tiffany. I actually put it in the chat, but I just wanted to let you know that if you have done this before, I encourage you to do it again. It does change over time. So then it depends on where you're at in your life. It also depends on what your circumstances are happening around you. So sometimes your needs are going to change. So do it periodically so that you can kind of get a gauge of where you're at as well.
Thanks
Great
for bringing
idea.
that
Love
up.
that.
Because Nora today, that's my daughter, she's like, Mom, I've already taken this, but she went away to a gap year, college year program. And she's like, I really thought I knew what my love languages were, but now I don't think that's it. And I said, well, it's not it anymore. It's about that you're growing and changing, and in different seasons, you need different things. So that's a really good insight, and I appreciate that.
So let me think here.
I think, what time is it? We have 15 minutes. You got through all your Slides.
Questions?
I just wanted to share with you guys things about being more creative. We actually purchased a tent and pitched out in the backyard for a camp out or when my daughter wants some alone time because the weather's been so beautiful. So we got an air mattress, a tent, we set it up. Even for us, but she pretty much owns it. She needs her alone time or ask her cousins over. So they have their time in the tent and it's really nice. You know,
Love
like
it.
you're within safety, like within
Safe
your
zone.
home, your safe zone, but at the same time, you're in your own space.
I love that.
Yeah, so it was really cool. As long as the weather permits to be.
Yeah. Starting to warm up a little bit. Today's nice.
I know. And one more thing on the meal prep or meal list. Yesterday I was prepping dinner and I was about to use my chopper. Well, the insert where the blade is was lost. So I said, okay, I'm not gonna finish dinner if you guys wanna come and help. So sure enough, I was making dinner before all four of us were doing one thing to complete that dinner.
Love it.
You know, maybe I should have lost it a long time ago. But I just wanted to share that with you because, and then,
Super
you know,
cool.
we go outside and paint and do whatever we can, but I thought the tent thing was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, super cool. So I love that. And you brought up one of my passions is being outside. And so I just pulled up this page here from the governor's office, and part of the essential activities that we're being asked to engage with is this one right here. Engaging in outdoor exercise activities such as walking, hiking, running, biking, golfing, setting up a tent in your backyard, only if appropriate physical distancing practices are used. So we have to stay outside, and part of what's becoming more and more known from an empirical evidence standpoint, even though we've known it in our gut for a long time, is what being outside can do for us. So we're going to list several resources. We're going to post them in a couple different places, and I'll get to that in a couple minutes here. But I want you guys to just be reminded that spending time outside, if it's just in your backyard, if it's just sitting by a tree, if it's going on your porch, if you can't do any of those and you can only gaze outside, that is going to bring health. What I tell my clients is I'm not a doctor and I can't prescribe medicine, but I can ask you to go outside 3 times a week for 30 minutes. And they say, what do I do? What do I do? What do you want me to do? And I say, do nothing. Lay down in the grass and make grass angels, or find the tiniest thing you can find. But even if you just went outside and turned your face up to the sky and allowed some vitamin D to come onto your face, would be amazing. So these couple slides, I'm not going to go through them because it could be information overload, but it's a part of this children. There we go. It's part of the Children and Nature Network. It'll be on the resource pages that we post, but being outside, like right now, just looking out this window, our daughter just went outside. She's eating dinner in a chair, sitting in our grass. So encourage your kids to be outside. Questions, comments, rebuttals?
A little quote that, sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
I have a little quote that my mom used to tell me. She says, well, it's going to happen whether you worry or don't worry. She says, if you worry, it's going to happen. And if you don't worry, it's going to happen. I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
It's a great reminder.
And another one was, of course, was Hakuna Matata. That was another one.
Yep.
Lion King.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay? I'm in my car.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lisa, and I'm actually a school counselor, and I'm also a parent, so I have 4 kiddos at home right now. But I just wanted to comment on just the overall feeling of a lot of our students right now is, as they're trying to do online work, they're not seeing their teachers and friends every day. And you mentioned this earlier, just the idea of making sure that we really do check in on them, and not just check in on them, but really ask them how they're feeling every day, just to give them a voice to all of those crazy feelings that we're all feeling, but even more so as a child or as an adolescent. And just really make sure that as parents, we just are really actively engaging the emotional side of what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. And I think it's really important, like you said, is giving them a place to express that and then not trying to fix it. Like it's scary and it's hard and it's sad. And I think just making space for all those feelings and not pushing in to try and fix it. So thanks for that reminder. Yeah. And I would say that's true of not only your kids, but anyone you come in contact with. Just make that space for people to feel their feelings. Thanks, Lisa.
If you're not on Instagram, you can get to Instagram, but this is Doorways Arizona. This is our Instagram page, and we will be putting, like I said, I don't know if they'll all post tonight or if it'll just be over the next stretch of days, but we have a bunch of resources like that 5 Love Languages website and some other resources that we want to share with you guys there, as well as the Facebook page, which is also Doorways. I think it's actually Doorways AZ.
And those will be, I think, the same things going on Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook's easier for you.
Yeah, so this is Doorways.
It shows up backwards when you do that.
I think it shows up right to them.
Okay.
And you can see the little logo.
The heart thing, it was backwards.
Oh, really?
It was the right way.
Okay,
it was
cool.
The right way. He was right. That's
There's a lot of creative kiddos out there. So whenever these last couple of weeks as we've been doing group and kids are in their bedrooms or in their living rooms or something for group, and we'll do a talent time with them, and I'll say, or any one of our therapists will say, bring a talent next time. The majority of them bring some kind of art. And that's awesome. So keep encouraging them to be as creative as they can with their art. That's a really fun thing to do right now too.
There's some really great people out there that have art practices, which maybe Jason could post a couple of those on Doorways too, that will take you through like a draw the feeling or an art meditation. And we've both done that and found it really, like, even just for our own self. And then I've used it in the past with kiddos too.
There's quite a few museums right now that are offering free virtual tours. So
that's cool.
Oh.
And it's like worldwide museums. So like even like the Louvre, you can tour that.
Super cool.
So look that up. I know also in regard to art, there's some Facebook and Instagram groups that people are creating because when you're outside walking, you can't interact with other people. So people are putting on their like windows hearts, or some communities do bears or whatever. So you could look that up in your community and see what they're doing, and then you can count the hearts or bears or whatever as you go. So it's kind of fun.
That's super cool. Love it. So any last questions or comments or rebuttals? I love a good rebuttal if anybody has a good rebuttal. And if you want to, oh, go ahead.
think it was an accident.
Okay. If you want to let somebody know that they can listen to this, that'll also be posted, and that'll probably be in the next couple days. And you can send people to the Instagram and to the Facebook site to get some more resources. Proud of you guys for staying in there with your kids and loving them enough to come do this for an hour. That in itself says a lot, and that encourages me. So thank you, and blessings on each of you for your journey with your unique kiddos at home.
And be kind to yourself.